Hey guys, Alberto here. Time to do a new series on this channel I've been wanting to do for the past couple days, and I thought this would be interesting because I actually haven't seen anything like this on any of the Fate Grand Order channel. Is a event review where, since I'm mainly a player on the NA server and the global, I guess is what you'd call, I would want to take the NA events that is currently happening right now and just review them, talking about, the main four things I'm going to be focused on is the story. Is it a good story? Because I like stories. This is technically an RPG, so I want to talk about the story. Is the grind really efficient? Is it very bad? Is it, worth? Is it actually an actual grind, or is it just, something you can do on your spare time? Gotcha banners, because all those importance and everybody loves those paid up servants. And then rewards. Is all this time and effort in this event really worth it? So we're gonna go ahead and start off first with the explanation and kind of the rating of the story. So what is the story of Fate Accel Zero Order, or Fate Zero Accel Order? The logo is not really telling. But anyway, let's talk about it. So basically, this is Fate Zero. There's no two things about it. It's the Fate Zero anime visual novel, except obviously we have a little twist. We're back in Fuyuki, which is now another singularity. Who would have thought? And it's all based on a different parallel version of Fate Zero Order. So Lord Malloy actually living through this and knowing what is going to happen, volunteers to be our guide throughout this singularity. And he already has a plan in place to kind of stop the singularity. We already have different ambushes, we're recruiting different masters to be on our team, quote. And all overall, that's the goal of any other singularity, which is to grab the Holy Grail that's been corrupted or something and, just stop the singularity. More singularities are bad, okay? And here comes my rating. I give it a B. Like that's literally it. It's Fate Zero Order with just a tiny little twist. Although a cute twist. It's not really original. Now, there's going to be events like this that's going to be based off the anime. Duh. Or animes, excuse me, duh, which is bound to happen. But it was not really much of an interesting twist to really hook, line, and sinker. It just made me just plow through the story just to unlock all the other grinding quests and stuff. So which I give the rating a B because of this. It's not really very addicting like some of the past event. Like, ooh, this is really cool. Oh, this is a clever little plot twist, quote, quote. Because sometimes they're not really good with the plot twist, and that's fine. But, yeah, I mean, it's not really much other than that. It's Fate Zero Order with a cute little twist. The pacing feels off on it, too. Sometimes you're just moseying along, doing stuff like, maybe we should do this or this. And then all of a sudden you're doing like 7 things at once. We gotta do this, this, and this, and this now in the same one chapter. And it just feels a little bit off. So, rating is a B. Now let's go on to the next subject, and that is the grind. So the grind has been a thing. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about how to grind up this event in case you haven't already done it, or if you're kind of last minute, or you just need some tips and pointers, even though we are kind of late in the grinding event. But so far you need specific craft sentences, which is in the gotcha banners. They have different events for that, and there's a really good 5-star craft essence for generic grinding in the event shop, which you complete the story, you'll get those type of drops, seal drops for each class, and then you can spend those class seals on these craft essences and other things in the event shop. We'll go in a little bit about the event shop later. But if you have specific characters, which I will put on screen right now due to the power of editing, boop. Actually, I'm not editing, I'm doing this on OBS. But, we have specific servants, and as you can see, there is not a lot to choose from. 3 of these technically are brand new servants, and Iskander, the 5-star writer, Emiya Assassin, and Hassan of the 100 Personas. Almost forgot her name for half a second. But the main problem with this, yes, these gives +3 to each of the drops they're strong to, like sabers are strong against Lancer, so they give Lancer drops. Makes sense, right? a lot of these characters and stuff are either pretty weak for being whatever star servant. Like a lot of these are 3-star servants that we of course we have easy access to, like Giles, both Saber, well mainly Saber because I believe Caster Giles is story summon locked, and then we have Kid Gil who's not story summon locked, but he's probably honestly one of the strongest 3-star servants out there just because of his skills, the charisma and a golden rule and stuff. Everybody else is not that strong. Nobody likes Saber Giles. Dearman's okay as a Lancer. The best servant honestly outside Kilgil is 3-star servant Kid Gil obviously is Hassan of the Cursed Arm just because he has a potential instant death, and he's a although quick critical stars isn't that popular right now. Someday I feel like they will be for crit purposes, but he's also a decent crit generator. So obviously, even if you put him like in the background and stuff, or even in the foreground, just to do damage to riders and stuff, he can do a decent amount of damage and potentially instant death to some of the non-servant bosses. So it's all well and good, but everything else is just pretty weak. Once you finish up the story and unlock stronger enemies that have more drops, like a +4 or a 6 drops, not including the craft essence bonuses or the servant bonuses you see here, that's all you really get, and that's the most efficient way is to use the grinding quests or the free quests towards the end of the story, and this is all we got. Not everyone's going to have access to some of these 5-star servants like Altera, Gilgamesh, who is a limited servant, Iskander, who's going to be limited after this event, and what's it called? I'm going to say this wrong. Luzdrang or Lord El Malloy. But not even everybody has Lancelot, and not everybody is gonna want to roll Iskander or Emiya Assassin, especially since Emiya Assassin's not all that great of a servant. He's a cool dude, don't get me wrong. He's a cool dude, but doesn't put out the damage. Like I just used him the other day, and he was level 70, and he barely did a quarter of not a servant's health, but like a rider boss's health. That was at like 150. He like barely did a quarter, and that's at level 70. That's kind of pathetic, especially at least for a 4-star assassin. His damage is really, really bad, especially on a 12-hit Noble Phantasm. But this isn't about him. This is about the gacha in general, and these are the only bonuses we get. I mean, if you spend a lot of rolls on the gacha, you can use maybe the 3-star or any of the other craft essences to use on your stronger ones, but you're still not technically getting as big of a boost if you're not using these characters, I feel. And just, yeah, I mean, these 5 stars are good, but if you're doing like the level 60 free quest, it's not that great, honestly. And it feels like it drags a lot, especially since there's so much you need and so specific needs. Like you need mainly like casters, riders, assassins, and sometimes you might need Lancer just for some of the ascension items and stuff. So that's it. Saber kind of falls off, Archer kind of falls off, Berserker falls off a little bit, but that's it. It focuses on so few class, like 4 or 5 classes that it doesn't feel like worth it to actually grind the other classes, even though you want like a lot of stuff from the other, like you need some Lancers, right? There's not a lot of Lancer stuff outside of maybe the Ascension, the items with the Rider statues and the Lancer statues and stuff. But you can get bicorn horns from there, and those are really hard to get right now in this point of the game. So that's probably only worth grinding for that, and that's it. So honestly, I give it this grind a C minus, just because like there's not the grind just takes forever, especially since you're not giving that many like bonuses that we can use, especially when the bonuses as servants in general are just really weak. And now this is a good time I need to go ahead and talk about the gacha banner. Now, the gacha banner is decent. Now, this isn't actually going right into the scaling of the event review, but there was a pre-event gacha where Altura and Gilgamesh were both on rate up, which we hadn't had a Gilgamesh rate up since what, October? So that was pretty important to those who really want Gilgamesh. I didn't really care for a character. I played this game for characters and I really don't care for them, so I kind of ignored that banner altogether. Those banners altogether. So let's talk about this banner. Now, the Fate Accel Zero banner had a lot of potential. There's all these crap dozens and stuff, and that's cool, I guess. There's one that grants invincibility. I believe that was the 5-star with in the middle of this banner that you can see. But this had a lot of potential. Unfortunately, the only two servants that are really worth it, quote unquote, are two of the rarer servants. Yulang, which I'll talk about him in a moment, and then Iskander. Now, Iskander is a decent rider. He's not as good as Drake just because he doesn't have a easier Noble Phantasm gauge to spam as much as she does. But Iskander can put out damage, especially since he has Charisma and MP Tactics buff for the party, and then he can increase his own Noble Buster card and Crit Star buff. So that's all well and good for him. He has the potential to do a lot of damage. And then you have Zulang, or Waver. And Waver is one of the best support servants in the game we have right now before Merlin. Every one of his skills gives two of his skills give a party-wide MP gain and buff in attack or defense, and damage or defense reduction. I guess damage reduction, if that's a thing, which I think he's one of the few only servants that can do that. And then just a critical attack up, targetable, that does 25%, I believe, at max level MP gauge rise, which is amazing. Plus his Noble Phantasm is just a huge debuff with a chance to stun, and a charge down, which is great. So Waver is always a must-have, but like the drop rate is fine enough. In fact, Waver is like the main reason this even gets a B, if not like a B plus. But I'm just gonna stick with B just because the other servants surrounding these two servants, 5-star servants, aren't really that great. That's at least on rate up. And Waver isn't even around for that long. He's around for like one day, every few days specifically, and then he disappears again, and it's Iskander only rate up. Which, Iskander is a great servant. He just does not have enough weight as a servant by himself to be screaming worth, and you should spend all your Saint Quartz on this gacha. Now, if you like Iskander as a character, I didn't know much about Iskander, obviously, because I didn't really watch the Fate Zero order, but he seems like a cool character that I just decided to roll a ticket on, and I happen to have it, which that video is a stream highlight and is on the channel if you haven't checked that out. But regardless, like, Emi Assassin is cool. He actually works well with Angermanyu, who's the rarest servant in the game, but that's on the friend point gacha, and we're not going to talk about friend point gacha, but that's only the real combo I've seen so far to him, because he has a targetable taunt, which I guess is neat. You can put it on a servant who has an invincibility or an evade and buy yourself another turn, but that's pretty much it. A self arts buff, which I think all Emias have that. Emiya faces, I should say, but isn't as strong as like Tamamo's or any other caster base that has an arts up. And Hassan of the 100 Personas is neat as a character. I feel she has really good skills, but she's still a 3-star servant, so her damage output and survivability is not as high as a 4-star or 5-star. And granted, I think I enjoy her as a character and a servant, an actual damage doing servant, more than Emiya, but that's just my opinion on that fact. So the gacha gives a B for me. And now we're going to talk about the last part, and that is the rewards. So I don't want to overwhelm you with this big old table, but this is just a screenshot of just some of the thing that's available in the shop. I won't be able to scroll down on my phone and talk about I'm not going to talk about like really specifics, but the main reward you really want is Isabel, which is what you get after you complete the storyline, Act 18, I believe. And we're going to talk about her in a bit. Let's talk about like the main grind, which is the event shop. there's nothing really all that worth, in my opinion, outside like the rarer ascension items, and of course you want the EXP cards and stuff, obviously. But you have to, not only do you have to spend all of these specific uh what's it called, seals on these essential materials on this XP, but you have to buy like sorcery ore fragments and scene fiend appendages, and that's just an even bigger waste of time because that the only thing that does is unlock certain quests, free quests and story quests, and that's it. Instead of just giving to us, they make us grind even more just to open up quests that only moderately helps us a little bit. Don't get me wrong, it happens. This is actually this actually helps out a lot post story, all the EX quests and stuff. But that's about it. And yeah, you can get Isabel MP5 and stuff using those EX events, and that's probably the only reason why you actually want to spend time in this. But but if you really don't care about Isabel, your priorities are elsewhere, and your grinding has been significantly reduced, which is great for you. But most of us, like myself, I really want Isabel. I want her MP5, so I have to go the extra mile. And I think this is why the got this whole event is like 3 weeks. Is because there's so much grinding and it drags. And I mean drags, as I talked about earlier. I don't remember if I gave it a proper grade, but I gave it a C minus. I think I did talk about that, but just like, ugh. But rewards, some of the stuff is worth it. Isabel von Eisburn, or the Dress of the Grail, Dress of Heaven, is honestly like the main reason why you want to complete this. You have like 500 mana prisms, which is cool. But like I said, the main goals, if you after you get all the craft essences, because you need those just to expedite this. This is like all the essential materials, because at this point, spirit roots, bicorn horns, and I believe like bloodstone tears is also in here as well. I don't have the whole. Actually, I can get the whole thing in front of me. No, bloodstone tears is not part of it. So yeah, that just means that's even worse. Jeez, man. It's only the bicorn horns, the year, the pages, and the spirit roots. So those are probably the only things you really want to buy in the shop. And if you do the missions, summoning tickets are of course really cool and stuff, especially when wafers on rate up. But again, like Isabel is the only thing that makes this a B, and the rest of the event shop actually hurts it. So I give it a B minus. Ugh.